All right, I'm super excited to talk to you. Can you share a little bit about your story? I don't know anything that pops up about your life journey.
Um, okay, it's getting connected a bit. Um, my name is Jawdat Kassab, and I was born and raised in Nazareth. And my mom's from Nazareth, was born in Nazareth, and my dad was born in Al Fahim. But his dad was born in an expelled village called El Lajoun, which now is known as Megiddo, Kibbutz Megiddo. So this is part of the trauma of my family and my history, which has a lot of implications on like my being, on the history, the pay the way that was the path that was paved for me as a person. And I grew up on these stories of my grandfather struggling for retrieving parts of the lands that were confiscated by going to court procedures, and there was like some success in retrieving like 5% of the land, which now part of my family holds. So this is part of like the narrative in my family, the struggle was using legal proceedings and nonviolent struggle. Um, Few years later, my dad became a lawyer. I also followed his footsteps. I became a lawyer. I believed in justice until at a certain point, I realized that I lost faith in the legal system very quickly. I studied in England, studied law, did my master's also, and then I came back here and did internship in uh, what? Intellectual property, and then did the bar exams here. And then I lost my faith in this whole system, and that started going into grassroots activism, which has like a why I use this, like why I turned into that has so many reasons. But ultimately, the other part of like my family pursuing justice is the grassroots thing was also with my family. When I was 9 years old, 10 years old, I witnessed like my family and my dad established the first Holocaust museum in Arabic, both in
Wow.
Nazareth and in the West Bank. So this was part of I used to go to Yad Vashem when I was 9, 10. I grew up around it. I was used to go to conferences of like joint Israeli Palestinians and whatnot. I used to go to the West Bank when I was very a kid, and yeah. So 4 years ago, I got introduced to event production for joint like Palestinians, Israelis, Arabs, and Jews, and internationals. How to create safe spaces and where everything can exist at once. And I got exposed to tools that meet the needs of these spaces and what requires in order to create a safer space for people. So I started training bit in nonviolent communication and participatory leadership, storytelling, and playback theater. Got introduced to environmental aspects of like social activism, and that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
No big deal. Just wow, what a story. So, so many questions. I find it so interesting. Like, do you notice how Palestinians always start their story with like, this is what happened to my family in the past? And I feel like if you would have asked me that question, I would just say, and I kind of did like, oh, I live here and I do this, like very present and future oriented. So can you
Yeah.
share a bit about that? Like, why is that so important and kind of like your starting point as a human?
Uh, it's a painful part to speak about. And also there's this always this fear of being erased for a Palestinian. And there's this need of like putting it on the table and acknowledging where it comes from and that exists, and it's important. for me and for people from the community I was born into. Uh, so it's kind of also like uh, securing my existence to speak about it. Something that I really resent as a person, but it's part of my survival mechanism. Uh, and also, I like to break paradigms. So, and the continuation of my story is also like interesting. So I think
Y-
that,
Very, very interesting.
yeah,
What caused your family to like share the Holocaust in their communities? By the way, I went to Ramallah and I went to Yasser Arafat's like I don't know, like the museum and the grave and all that. It was really fascinating. I was so surprised because there was a history, like timeline there, and there was the Holocaust there, and I was kind of surprised by that.
really,
Hmm.
I don't know that.
Have you been there?
No.
Yeah, it's really cool. I really recommend visiting that.
Yeah.
So what caused your family to share that with their communities?
Um, this I think a question for my dad. But I grew up hearing him say something about hearing his father, my grandfather, always saying, "We are not the Germans. We are not the Germans. We are not the Germans. Why is this happening to us?" And I guess it's like sparked an interest in seeing what happened in Germany. And then when my dad started exploring this, he started exploring like, oh, the Holocaust is something that is happening and it's being denied, and we cannot repress it or suppress it as humans in this society. And he believed that part of the Palestinian liberation will be intertwined with acknowledging the Holocaust and acknowledging the pain of the other, I think. Uh, yeah, which just sparked my interest in understanding a bit about generational trauma and intergroup trauma and further stuff.
That is so fascinating. And how do you see that? I mean, the post that I read from you, which we will link, which I really loved. Um, how do you see generational trauma? Like, what's your perspective on it?
Um, First of all, I'm still just a bit uh shaky about the answer I gave about the previous question, but I'll because it is a trauma that I'm trying to understand within myself. Like I'm also like through therapy and everything. Uh, the fight for the place here is a fight for space, and some people take more room than others. And some people cope with it differently, and the way I cope with things is by dissociating from my body. So because I have no space for myself in the environment, and I see it like being reproduced in my family dynamic. Like I think like there's a lot of theories about like how the macro affects the micro and the family dynamic, and the conventional ways of expressing myself as a male also is uh, not allowed in a sense. So there's no room for me other than to imagine myself in a big vacuum screaming. And I don't feel grounded. I don't feel on the earth. And I think like when I say things like that make like could talk about the trauma of being expelled and the history, it's something that it's a call for me to meet the need of being accounted for, that I matter. Uh, and it's a constant struggle for someone who is grouped with a Palestinian group and suffers from circumstances of life that affects them the way it affects us today. So yeah, the value, the accountability of my feelings, of my thoughts, of, of who I am, of my past and my history is a constant struggle of always trying to prove myself and find space for it. And it's like invalidated most of the time because of the superficial look of me as a human, of what I'm perceived by the other. And it's something that is very painful. So some of the strategies is saying the words like genocide, words like occupation, apartheid, the expulsion, the Nakba, the continuous like atrocities that I think of. Um, and and that the intergroup, I saw it manifest into the society I was in, where I saw the people around me in my community upholding to themselves a consciousness of an oppressor. So the oppressor energy. And I saw it transmit and infest people and does not discriminate. It infests us all the same way. It in but in different manifestation, yeah, like in different forms. It take different forms in gender and ethnicity and who holds more power and who doesn't. Um, and I'm like, this is my struggle, is how to hold the pain of seeing that this trauma is being infested and infecting a lot of people and spreading like a wild disease and not being able to like stop it. So yeah,
It's a lot.
yeah,
And yeah, I think, I remember when I was like, okay, I'm gonna offer, I don't know, different groups to do some grounding, to, for us all to do grounding together or something. And then it kind of felt like, what is the point? Because there's still like oppression happening. It's kind of like when a woman is getting abused by her husband and you're like, let's do some grounding. So then like, okay, but I have to leave. Like I'm literally in survival mode. Like I'm literally under threat. So I have to leave the threat in order to feel grounded. Like that's the first step. So how do you manage that? Or like, have you thought about just like leaving, you know?
just before I got on this call, I was on dinner table with my parents and uh, they came up with like, what if right now Smotrich's plan work and they get annexed the West Bank and right now they're conquering Gaza City and then they will come for us next. They will expel us. So I don't know. Like helplessness and hopelessness and despair, they're a big theme here, for the past 2 years after like the situation accelerated into this current manifestation and form. Uh, it's very hard to pull ourselves from this point here. And I don't know about the future of the community I'm in or the people here. What will happen? Would I think that this trauma perpetuating itself will keep going unless you have certain people that will say, okay, now we'll deal with it. This oppressive energy, we'll deal with it once and for all. Maybe not for my generation, but my whole motivation and uh, loyalty is towards dealing with this phenomena on Earth. How could something like the Holocaust happen and we didn't attend to it, and it's still happening today in our psyche and presence all the time, and it's perpetuating into other people in the world. So this whole fragmentation of the consciousness of human thing is still a thing. Maybe we lost the battle, but the war against it is still going. So this is where I focus. This is where my aim is to spread that message.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Can you explain that a bit more? Like, how do you see that it's in our psyche and also in the real world, and how are they kind of mirroring each other?
I don't know, colonialism and like hierarchy and like patriarchy and all of these, they're thousands of years ingrained in our brain. It's very hard to come out from the. Uh, I don't know what's relevant to tell, and sometimes like transfer an experience of such that is not presented to somebody else is like very challenging thing unless we live it together. Uh, so this is part of the work, is like trying to create some spaces that are kind of uh, deprived of these energies, or deal with it when we do like self-regulations, co-self-regulations with each other. And all this um, separation and fragmentation that we see people like very attached to form. Uh, and yeah, there's so many things we could speak about, but I don't know what to.
Maybe an example, like of from daily life, how you've witnessed it within yourself or with other people.
The the oppressive.
Yeah, like how we're perpetuating these cycles through our behavior, through our consciousness every day.
It's a deep question. It could be like something that we speak about, like in essence, uh, like spiritual, or could we say like practical things, which would lead to polarities, or which reinforce separation. So I'm very careful about like bringing in like certain examples, but uh, I'll speak about the other flip side of these things and how I found some comfort in certain non-conventional interactions with people uh, that you're not supposed to talk to, or you're not supposed certain behaviors that you're not supposed to have. And first of all, I think like the ethics of conflict is built on righteousness and dehumanizing one another, on prejudice and victimhood. And that whole conflict between the human beings is built on the resistance to acknowledge that we are all one. So it benefits and reinforced by applying these mechanism of separation. As the more it doesn't want us to come together, it doesn't want us to see for ourselves. So it actually benefits from the separation, from the walls that we put in, like the separation wall, for example, or like for the weapons that we use and whatnot. And I think the antidote of that is the compassion. Uh, there's a quote by Rumi, and from the 13th century, a poet. I'm sure a lot of people know, but I have to say that that out beyond right doing or wrongdoing, there's a field, and I will meet you there. So that field for me is compassion, and compassion could mean so many different things for so many different people, but for me, it means the abundance of love, and that could mean a lot of things. And I think it's our creation, the same way that we can't give life, we can't take life. So imagine like you're in a position where you need to take someone's life, or you think so, or it's on the psyche, it's very hard. So I told you that I was born, I come from a village called Dejon, which now there is an kibbutz erected on it. But on the 7th of October, I was in a kibbutz in Araba Institute. It's a program that
We should explain what that is because people don't know what a kibbutz is.
a kibbutz is. I don't know. Can you explain it better than me?
Uh, like a communal Jewish village, essentially in Israel.
Yeah,
That's how I would
communal.
explain it.
This is, I think, for me, this is the foundation of of Israel. It started as a communal, ethnic Jewish only spaces that are fenced and with a lot of soldiers, and it started expanding a bit by bit to its surroundings, which what became today Israel. And on its way, it really kind of wiped out everything that was around it.
But you see now, this is important because you said I can explain it better, but really it's just we have two different views of it, right?
Yeah,
And it's so interesting. Sorry to interrupt. When I have conversations like with friends, I like to play devil's advocate. It just comes. Just like help, like to expand people's, you know, mind, I guess. And even when I have friends who are like, they don't live, they live outside of the situation, and they're like, how could Israelis do this, which I feel as well, for sure. But I also then can see, oh, people are just on the ground and they feel threatened, like their nervous system is under constant feeling of threat, whether it's perceived or it's real, whether like from the outside you would look at it and you would say it's not really real, like you actually have more power overall, but like your nervous system is in this constant threat, and then you do these things that are so irrational. But I think it's really interesting how we can look at things from all these angles, like whether you're right there living there on the ground, your mind, like your consciousness, almost cannot, for many people, cannot step out of that and be like, what the hell are we doing? Like,
really. Uh, this is why I don't like to get stuck into like the practicalities of things. It's important, and I love it, and I can't do it alone. Of course, you need the perspective of others, to see. And this is part of it. This is the beauty of it. To continue to complete the image, and because it's so separated, these two narratives so separated, and later you will get to know there's more than two narratives. There's a lot of narratives. You have Arab, Palestinian, Arab 48ers, and you have like West Bankers, you have Gazans, you have diaspora, you have Jewish people that are diaspora, you have Jewish people with Holocaust descendants, where you have Jewish people that are not from Holocaust survivors, descendants, and you have Mizrahis and Ashkenazim and whatnot. So it's like, it's not just one narrative, and it's all trauma, like that has been unspoken and didn't surface and was suppressed.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah,
So sorry, I interrupted you when you were speaking about where you were on October 7th.
thank you for
Bring us back.
yeah,
There's so much. Yeah.
yeah, uh, yeah. There's so much. So yeah, the 7th of October, I was on a kibbutz on this program called the Arava Institute for Environmental Studies and Political Dialogue. It's a program for like 4 semesters, 4 months and 1 semester, where they bring Israelis and Palestinians and internationals together. We live together, and each Wednesday we have a dialogue for 3 hours about the situation in this region. And yeah, we do things together. We shared from like the beginning of September until the 7th of October. We shared a lot of things together. We uh, talked a lot. We talked about our experiences. We grew love amongst each other. And on the 7th of October, I was in the kibbutz, and I was scared. It's so hard for me to be in a kibbutz, talking about my trauma. Uh, and I know that my parents even they had a really hard time accepting that I'm at the kibbutz. It was dishonoring them. It was disrespecting them to a point that they refused to speak to me for a few months. I remember. that I used to, if I hear something outside in the window, I would walk to the door to try to block it because I feel like they're coming to get me, the soldiers outside. Everybody is holding guns, yeah. And for me, guns is a threat, not like Israelis, Jewish Israelis, where they see it and they feel safe. Uh,
It's interesting that you say that because I remember like a friend of mine came from Germany to visit and she was on the bus and she was like, what the hell?
yeah,
Why are there like, you know, the four-seaters where everybody's facing each other? She's like, why are there four guns like pointing at each other? And yeah, I think when I was doing the facilitation training, it suddenly became very scary for me. Like something about it, just like guns all around, just became a very scary thing. So I'm sure not the same as you, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you shed light on certain matters, and then you're like, we drank the Kool-Aid, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, uh, yeah. So on the 7th of October, actually, yeah, there was like on the door there were my name on the door in Arabic and Hebrew and English. So I was like, what if I should remove it so they won't know, stuff like that. And it was frightening for everybody. But that's not the point. My point is that on the 7th of October, like I remember seeing what happened in the Gaza envelope, and I'm seeing like pictures of the atrocities that happened there. And I'm seeing like a picture of two elderly couple, and I remember like their the woman was like white hair, wearing like blue and like pink flowers in it, and she's swimming in a pool of blood, shot in the head, and I'm like, what the hell happened here? You know, how did we reach to such situation? What is this? I was just shocked. I was like in disbelief. I was in pain. And then immediately after that, I was like, I understood it was gonna happen. Uh, and it's been happening until today. Uh, yeah, it breaks my heart. But what was interesting is that the same night, I saw three of my friends that they got drafted to the army. I didn't know what the army was, you know, what war was for the Israelis. For me, it's not a war. It's like apartheid, oppression. You know, it's not asymmetrical. But I don't go. It's asymmetrical, but I don't. There's an asymmetry, whatever. But I don't go to the military. I don't. I don't train to hold a gun. This is not in my uh, life experience. And then I see three of my friends, they get Savshmoni, they're recruited, and one of them, like I see each person coped in a different way. One of them just drank himself off until he started puking. One other guy just became stiff, put on the bag on a mission, repressed all of his emotions. I didn't know who he was. But there was one guy who was vulnerable. And we sat together until 2 a.m. and we're speaking, we're talking about his fears, everything. And me and my friend from Nailabun, he's a doctor also, he's my age, and like we're trying to console him. He's like, Yalla, he's there also like, Yalla, you'll get over it like a man, you know, you come back in a week. And then he looks at me, and with his eyes and that look, that I don't forget to today. It's like I see the amount of fear in his eyes and anger after it is like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And I was broken out of my paradigm. It's like, holy shit. Like, um, and then it hit me. The His reality doesn't cancel mine. It doesn't negate my reality. Both of our realities exist interdependent of each other and irrespective of each other. They're interconnected but irrespective. And I understood that these Jews, they don't hate me. They're scared. There's fear. There's an immense amount of fear. And it changed my life. Uh, to witness it. And it got me to a situation where I understood that I need to get up, hug the dude, wish him safety, wish his heart will be guarded, wish his life will be safe and life of others will be safe too. Uh, and that's part of the experience of the stories that I was trying to experience all the time, and the spaces that we create. Yeah, plenty of where that came from, but
That's beautiful.
yeah.
Do you find comfort in that? I mean, I don't know, like when I lived in Jerusalem, I found a lot of comfort in this heart connection between Israelis and Palestinians.
Of course, you find comfort. Um, find partnership also and trust. And you see the difference between like investing in fear and in control and in protecting yourself, and rather than just investing in trust and cooperation. And you create. It's different. You don't need to protect. And you learn from each other and you exchange a lot of things and you stand in solidarity with each other. I see that right now the Palestinian community is slow death, being wiped out. And that's what's happening to the Palestinian community. And it's a lot of trauma. It's this feeling of being dissociated, the rage, you can't express it. Ben Gvir just gave 100,000 members of the kibbutz the ability to take guns. So it is more fear for me that I cannot express myself even. So this is being buried alive for me. So the trauma is being perpetuated more and more and more. And to talk to a Palestinian and say that you need to build partnership with, are you nuts? Like, you don't see what's happening. And what is the cost of building a partnership, right? It's like you need to acknowledge the pain of the other, and you need to acknowledge the reality, and you need to forgive. How can you do that? Well, everything is happening right now. After my post, I got a lot of backlash uh, from the Palestinian community, and I it it was heavy on me. I stayed in bed for like a week and a half. Like I couldn't get up from bed, and until today, I feel like guilt and shame. Uh, and I know this is a trauma trying to penetrate itself. But for me to acknowledge the pain of the other right now is the antidote for all of this. Uh, the pain of the Jewish people is so immense. It's thousands of years. The story of the Jewish people is tragic. Uh, years of anti-Semitism and being ostracized and looked as the other, and uh, the massacres in Europe and the Holocaust also, and the fact that the Jewish people didn't have a place to mourn, to grieve the Holocaust, right? And this is why it's weaponized right now, you know? There's no place to deal with this. And hence the state of Israel is a call where we need a space to grieve. And more, not just. Uh, um, so that in itself, I can see the 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 violence that is happening today is that energy, it's that trauma, it's a cry for help. And what I am angry about, because I'm scared that if we don't do this, and I'm also scared of my limitations as a human being of expressing this message to the people here, is that exactly in these times, this question of how could you acknowledge the pain of the other is the trauma perpetuating itself. And if we don't deal with that, then then, you know, we'll try next time. uh, so yeah, I got a lot of people came to me and were like, how are you saying? I envy you because it seems like you dealt with your wounds. I'm like, this is how I deal with my wounds. Compassion and forgiveness for myself. I forgive myself for the limitations first and then others. And this is the part of like somatic non-judgment for whatever we are feeling right now. Until I went, this is another story, if it's okay.
Absolute stories are the
Yeah.
best.
Uh, so until I went to Beit Jala 2 weeks ago, I was invited to speak to a group of Jewish people they're studying Torah.
Oh wow.
And I speak a bit about mysticism, Islamic mysticism, and mysticism in other religions also. So I went with them before my workshop. I stayed with them before the Shabbat, and they also do these things where they go to the West Bank to look at the occupation in the eye. You know, they want another version of Judaism that does not suppress what is happening in reality around them. I don't want to say realities, I know it's charged, but uh, um, yeah, and they spoke with a, a Palestinian woman from Gaza. We spoke with her, and this Palestinian woman was in Gaza. She's like 32 now until 2019, and she left. She moved into the West Bank in 2019, but she went through an intifada. She went through so many wars. She lived in a place where right next to the envelope, so there were so many like campaigns of the military coming in, going out. But one story she told was in 2014 is like there was a war that she got stuck. Uh, a wall was demolished on her family and her, and they were in the rubble with her six other female uh, family members, and one of them was pregnant with a twin. So she was killed, uh, her cousin. So she lost the twins as well, and they stayed under the rubble for 2 days. And they were scared that the dogs would come in and would eat them alive also. Until 2 days later, something happened, and I don't remember what. I was at that point completely shocked. And from the audience, there was a guy. He stood up at the end and he was like, "At this date in this neighborhood, yes, I was the one who shot." Yeah. And he was like, "How? Why didn't you get out of there?" And all of this, why don't you leave? Why don't you like? He cannot fathom what was happening. So what I was shook from is her reaction. At the beginning, she was shocked, but then she smiled and she embraced him. She hugged him like her own son. I don't know what went through her, but I could only assume that while she's processing the death of her cousin, and she lost her mother also in Gaza just a year ago, and 55 members of her family. How could she, to forgive and to continue with life, to understand what really happens, is she put herself in his shoes, and she tried to understand what are the factors that brought him to this place. And she felt sorry for him. And she didn't wish his pain on him or anybody else. That is the compassion manifested in a human form. And for me, that was like, it convinces me, yeah, it's possible. And this is what it takes to end the cycle of violence. Uh,
It's a change in consciousness, like I had so many conversations with my parents where they would be like, but we're under threat. What do you expect us to do? And it's always us. I'm like, first of all, you're not there, so calm down. Second of all, I think we, and they just see it everywhere, you know, like it's so crazy because it happened to me too in Costa Rica. I'm like literally feeling scared in Costa Rica. Like, wait. I was like, no. But it's so crazy. It just happens in your consciousness. But I really feel like it's such a consciousness problem. I mean, really at the root of it, because it's like we're under threat, so we have to act. And there's no space, like you said, for vulnerability. Like there's no moment to like grieve. And I think it's such a Jewish thing that we're always doing. Like even our religion is very like doing based. And there is, yeah, we grieve for 7 days, whatever, like it's part of it. But I think Jews are very like, let's do, let's like fix, which I love. I think it's beautiful. But there's like, no, like, let's slow down and like actually feel this, because if we don't feel this, we're going to get act out of it, so that we are continuing to run from this feeling because we don't want to feel it. So we're just running and we're just expelling that onto other people. And yeah, I just feel like there's so much importance in what you, like the example you shared of vulnerability of the three men, like only one was vulnerable, and that is really so healing. I mean, vulnerability, even to say like, I hate you because that's what I'm feeling, or I don't know what to do, or whatever, like whatever I'm feeling in this moment, like the ability to say that. I think that's what we need right now for the healing.
Yeah. Well, authentic way of expressing, I mean, healthy way to direct our energy into something else. And, also, like the way to heal is to hold it together. Also, like we need to hold it together. We need each other. That's what we don't get. Uh,
So you don't mean hold it together like holding it together,
No, no,
hold it together, like
yeah.
yeah, totally. What is the place for anger for you? I mean, where does that kind of like get expressed? How do you process that? Or even anger when you see like Israelis or Jewish people, or when you watch the news?
Good question. Like right now, there's this, I don't know, cancel culture about anger. Like it's demonized. Uh, and I'm working through therapy, and my therapist told me like the difference between a mom that throws her baby out of the window and the mom that doesn't is the mom that could imagine that she threw him before it happened. The mom that can't imagine that she threw her baby, then she will. So what's happening right now for the Palestinian community is that we're not allowed to breathe. We're being suffocated. And if we put a like on a post that expresses rage, then you're canceled. That takes your imagination away. You can't express your anger. It builds up in you, and it needs a way out. So a way out is what they call today terror. This is the cycle. Uh, this is the psychology of it for me. So my struggle today, to bring to the people here ways of expressing themselves and giving them back the nature way of being angry about injustice, because it's injustice, like there's no way to intellectualize it. There's an intellectual experience that you understand. You don't need to, okay, you want the bed, but there's a somatic one as well. And if we don't honor the somatic and healthy ways of letting the emotion out, then we can't imagine, then we will do. So this is the partnership that I ask of other people to help communities that are suffering from this to be able to express this, to experience this, because it's intertwined. You know, it not might not show now, but it will show in different forms. Maybe not from the same people, but from different ethnic people. And maybe it will be something completely different. But I don't want to go into the future and pretend like I prophesize or like predict. I don't. But so, but these are like actual probabilities.
Yeah, yeah, I think I wish everybody was doing their own work. Imagine. Um, yeah, I was just thinking like how beautiful would it be if, and I think we get to this in dialogue in some ways, where Israelis are able to hold space for Palestinian rage and not like personalize it like it's okay, like, just express it. I'm here and I'm kind of like holding that with you. And I think it has to come first. Like, I mean, just from the dialogue process that I know, it's usually Palestinian rage comes first, and then there becomes like some space for Israeli rage too. And when we do that together, I mean, how powerful is that? And I think like if we can make the consciousness the enemy, how cool would that be? Like the consciousness is the enemy. It's like not, and that's, when you were describing the woman like hugging the soldier, I was thinking I have that tendency, and then sometimes I'm like, is that bad? Like I'm just like, I'm not mad at you, like whoever hurt me or whatever. Like I'm not mad at you because you're not the like there's something bigger. I don't know. And then I'm like, wait, but this person hurt my feelings. But it's just like, yeah, like I wish we could just see the bigger thing there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Is what is the difference between empathy and a trauma bond? But uh, yeah, these are like matters that I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. I'm not gonna pretend that I do. It's a continuous like struggle every day to know, like to live the moment actually and see what's suitable for it. There's no mold for it, but there's exposure and prevention, right? You expose people to things and you prevent them from happening. And this is how you deal with the paranoia and the fear and everything. There's a story I was raised up on, and there's two neighbors. One that is goes to work every day. He finds that his neighbor threw the trash into his yard. So he cleans it, cleans it, cleans it, takes it out. Happens month and two, three, happens. One day, there's no trash. Oh, what happened? 2 day, 3 day, 4 day. No trash. So he goes to check on him, and he sees that he's sick. He brings them soup, and they become friends. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it takes time and it takes resilience. And that's part of the energy that we don't have now. The feminine energy that what's so called is that nurturing the land no matter what, the resilience, the steadfastness, is that not looking just for myself, but looking for the whole. Uh, and despite everything, all the factors that are happening, is that we are still nourishing and nurturing the land, which we don't own, and it doesn't, we belong to it. And this is a consciousness that we don't have right now. We're going to control possessiveness, and so step by step. I don't know.
Think you know a lot. Thank you so much for sharing all that. Is there anything that you want to add to the conversation that I haven't asked or you haven't shared that's important?
Want to add? No. I guess, uh, yeah, no, that's one. It's
You
good.
think you think we're in a good spot?
We're in a good spot. Yeah.
Well, thank
But
you. Yeah, I really appreciate that and your time and your wisdom that you shared.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
No further.